Kentucky, the Gators have strengthened their position in the national ranking. Two athletes who have stepped forward are sophomore Kristen Guise and junior Colleen Johnson. Guise, a native of Coral Springs, Florida, has been Florida's top all-arounder. Kristen notched her first all-around title at Kentucky. Former Canadian national team member Colleen Johnson brings her experience to another level this season after a strong finish last year. Tonight, in front of a home crowd at the O'Connell Center, the Gators go for their third straight win. Their opponent, the defending national champion, Georgia Bulldogs. All the action is coming up next on Sports Channel. Center in Gainesville, Florida, Sports Channel presents University of Florida Gymnastics. Tonight, the Georgia Bulldogs meet the Florida Gators. Good evening, I'm David Sturt, and welcome to another season of Florida Gymnastics. Tonight, two longtime rivals meet, Georgia and Florida. Both teams undefeated this year. Georgia with a win at Penn State, Florida with wins at home against North Carolina State, and on the road against Kentucky. And joining me again this season, former Lady Gator All-America gymnast Melissa Miller. And Melissa, one of the big reasons Florida's off to a fast start is Kristen Guise, who has gone right on from a great freshman year and getting into a pretty good sophomore season.
Well, Kristen not only had the #1 bar score in the country after Florida's first meet, but in her second meet won her first all-around title, beating out last year's NCAA all-around champion Jenny Hansen from Kentucky.
Now, in addition to Kristen, Florida has been getting great work out of its seniors, and they need that kind of work to continue on towards their move up the rankings. Of course, Lisa Panzeroni has done very well in the all-around this year, and Carrie Robidoux and Nicole Stocker, two specialists, have picked up their work and are expected to give some big scores this year. Now, also, Florida working on some newcomers who are going to come into the lineup and be a big help, and one, of course, has been Chrissy Vogel.
Well, Chrissy Vogel has been Florida's top vault performer this year, scoring a 9.7 in the season opener, and then topping that with a 9.8 on the road against Kentucky. She's an exciting performer, and they expect her to really contribute as an all-arounder this year.
Now, Florida will be depending on a lot of newcomers this year, but for Georgia, they have those newcomers, but a great set of veterans. This is a team that scored an NCAA record 198 at last year's NCAA championships, and of course the veteran leader is senior Hope Spivey Sheely.
Well, Hope Spivey has had an excellent career at Georgia, earning All-American honors all 3 years, winning the 1991 NCAA All-Around champion and scoring an amazing 19 perfect 10s, far more than any other gymnast in NCAA history.
Now, in addition to Hope Spivey Sheely, of course, an array of gymnasts who do some of the great tricks in the country. This Georgia team, they're out to win another national title, and Florida tonight will get a chance to find out if it can match up with the best there is in this country. And we'll be back after these messages to talk with Florida head coach Judy Markell Avener. Back at the O'Connell Center, and joining me is Florida Gymnastics coach Judy Markell Avener. And Judy, your second year here at Florida, first one a real transition time. How is it going the second year implementing your system?
Well, it feels really good. Last year was a difficult year because there were so many things to get used to. That the athletes had to get used to me and a new way of doing things. I needed to get used to a new place and to them. And it just feels so much more comfortable and natural this year. I'm pleased.
What about this challenge you've got tonight, going back-to-back meets? Very unusual for a team to go back-to-back, and especially after a road meet. How tough will that be on your team tonight?
Well, I think we've been preparing for it all preseason by having hard workouts back-to-back. I think we're ready to go. It was kind of a challenging trip because we went to Kentucky and there was a lot of snow and the plane got broken and we didn't think we were going to get back in time, but that made it sort of an adventure and we just tried to enjoy it. We're glad we're here and we're glad to have a chance to compete.
Of course, tonight, Florida going against Georgia, the defending national champion. Always an exciting meet, a special meet for teams. Very early in the year, is it a chance to find out just how good your team is?
Yeah, I think Georgia's going to be one of the best teams in the country again, and so for us to get a good perspective on what we need to do in order to move upward in the standings is going to be on the same gym floor with them. We see what they're doing and see how what we're doing compares to that, and it's going to be an excellent opportunity, I think, for us to learn from it.
And what about your team in terms of physically coming off the meet against Kentucky, now going right back up? Everybody fairly healthy tonight?
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're excited, and they, you know, if I said, oh, we're sorry, we can't do the meet, I think at this point they'd be really disappointed. So we're a little bit bumped and bruised and a few runny noses, but other than that, we're ready to go.
Okay, good luck tonight, Judy, and we'll be back with the opening rotation after this message. back to the O'Connell Center on the University of Florida campus, getting ready for Florida and Georgia gymnastics. Two great programs, and two programs that also have two great coaches here tonight. We've got Suzanne Yakulin from the University of Georgia in her 11th year at Georgia. Suzanne, the NCAA Coach of the Year in 1993. She's won 3 national titles, 3 straight SEC titles, and recognized as one of the great coaches in collegiate gymnastics. And, of course, on Florida's side, the 1992 NCAA Coach of the Year, Judy Markel-Avenir, in her 2nd year at UF, after an 18-year stint at Penn State, where she won a couple national titles in 1978 and 1980 with the Nittany Lions, a great overall record as well, and again, trying to keep Florida's streak alive this year of making it to every NCAA gymnastics championship meet. Only Florida and Utah have made it to every one of the meets since the meet was put into play back, 1982. So 12 straight years Florida has made it in. Again, the teams tonight, Florida coming off a win at Kentucky and also a home win over at NC State. Georgia with a win at Penn State, scoring right in the 192 range. Both teams looking to up their scores tonight and improve on the performances from their season openers. And we'll begin tonight's competition with the vault. Florida's Nicole Stocker will start things off, and then we'll move over to the bars where Georgia will get underway. Nicole Stocker.
Now, Nicole performed a kite scoop, which is only worth a 9.5 this year.
Nicole has scored a 9.3. She scored that at Kentucky. Has not been a career-long vaulter for Florida. Mostly a bar specialist, has gotten up on the beam once in a while, on floor once in a while, but mostly bars have been her specialty, but she's moved into the vault lineup now. She's a senior out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she will, of course, get a second vault. The highest of the 2 vault scores will be her score for this evening.
And during the same vault, there will be a 10th deduction on the dismount. And one thing you'll notice this year is they're allowed to use thicker mats put in on every event. And I guess that's probably just to help with the injuries.
And now we'll move over to the bars. The first performer for Georgia tonight, freshman Leah Brown. She's out of Atlanta, Georgia.
The straddle over mount. Some giant moves with twist. That's reverse hex, fulfilling one of the basic requirements. Preparing for her dismount with some giants with a full turn and a nice double back dismount. Good landing.
Leah Brown from the University of Georgia, her season high coming in at 9.675. Georgia, of course, always an outstanding bars team. And we move back now to the vault where we have sophomore Amy Meyerson out of Hartford, Connecticut. Amy with a career best of 9.45 in the vault last season.
Amy will be performing a handspring front in a tuck position, which is worth a 9.9. The main thing you're looking for here is distance and height away from the horse. It's 1/10 on the ending, but it was a nice amplitude on the vault.
And Judy Markel-Avenir feeling pretty good about her vault team. They had some problems in the season opener against NC State. Vaulting has always been a very tough event for Florida. That's the one that's pulled their scores down. But this year, she thinks she has an improved team, and although they did not perform that well in the season opener, they improved dramatically against Kentucky and had a very fine vault score, team score of 47.85. So Amy Meyerson, who scored a 9.25 in the season opener, and now will get her second vault. She did not perform on the vault against Kentucky. Amy had a cold, but she's back in the lineup tonight for this big meet with Georgia.
The gymnasts get to perform 2 vaults, and of course they take the highest of the 2. So if they mess up on the first one, they can always do a little bit better on the second one and up their score. She needs to work on sticking the landing on the second vault. Nice intro, and that'll be a small deduction. They'll probably definitely take that first vault.
Well, we move from Amy Meyerson over to the bars now, and for Georgia, it's Kelly Macy, the senior out of Overland Park, Kansas. Kelly was the 1991 NCAA bars champion.
Nice straddle over mount. Giant with a full pirouette. Nice tight Jaeger. trying to keep the routine flowing. Nice full pirouette and double back dismount. Nice routine.
Kelly Macy, a veteran on this team and one of the leaders of this Georgia team this year, had some problems in the season opener on the bars, but obviously back in top form again. And we'll move back now to the vault where freshman Beth Raboyne. Beth, a freshman out of Bristol, Connecticut. She scored a 9.60 against Kentucky and also vaulted in the season opener against North Carolina State.
And she also performed the handspring front and had a nice landing.
A lot of afterflight on that vault, and of course the judges like to see how far you carry from the horse out into the air, and she did a very good job with it.
Okay, as you can see, she's coming in. Her legs are pretty much together. Nice landing, too. That'll score pretty high.
Beth Raboyne, part of a very highly regarded freshman class for the University of Florida, and of course part of a bright future for this squad.
She'll try to better this vault by sticking it as well as the gymnasts that have gone before her. That vault wasn't much different than the other. A step again on the ending.
And as we get ready to move over to the bars, the earlier vault score for Nicole Stocker was a 9.10. On the bars, Leah Brown scored a 9.60 for Georgia. Next up on the bars for Georgia is Nika Logan, a junior out of Downers Grove, Illinois. Nika, a two-time All-America both in 92 and 93, and in 1992, the NCAA bars runner-up.
A nice giant with a half pirouette. Reverse hex, as most of the gymnasts on this Georgia team are performing the reverse hex, fulfilling the requirements of the release move. A nice double twist dismount. That's a nice, unique ending that you don't see very often.
Nikki Logan, as she's known, from the University of Georgia. Very fine routine. And we'll be moving back to the vault now, and it's senior Lisa Panzeroni.
Lisa's a real powerful vaulter. She's performing a handspring front, and that'll be a 5/10 deduction for the fall. Her second vault, she's going to want to work on sticking that landing.
Lisa has a career best of 9.75 on the vault. This year she scored a 9.45 at Kentucky, and of course, with all of these vaults, the key is to stick that landing.
They're all performing really nice handspring fronts or souks, but the big key on getting the high scores is just to stick the landing. And I think possibly with that thick mat that it makes it a little bit harder to stick the landings. Getting ready for a second vault. Performing another handspring front. And that was a better vault, even though she had a couple steps on the ending.
And head coach Judy Markel-Avener liked that vault a little better. Florida's earlier scores, Amy Meyerson had a 9.45 for her vault. Kelly Macy, 9.775 on the bars. And we now move to Leslie Angelis, a freshman out of Madison Heights, Michigan.
Another straddle over mount. Most of them just want to get on the bars and start their routine. Nice full pirouette. If they don't complete it on top, they don't receive the credit for it. Nice Ginger release move. Getting ready for a dismount. Another full pirouette. And a nice tuck double back dismount. A step on the ending, but a nice consistent routine.
Suzanne Yakelin very happy with her outstanding freshman. Leslie Angelis, one of the top recruits in the country last year, and has scored very well this season already for Georgia. We move back to the vault now, and one of Florida's top freshmen, Chrissy Vogel, who has been Florida's top vaulter this season. She had a season high of 9.80 against Kentucky.
Chrissy will be doing a handspring front as well. And a beautiful vault. One step on the ending, and that'll be about the only deduction that I could see.
Great height on that vault, too, as she took off. Florida's other scores as we get ready for Chrissy Vogel's second vault. Well, let's take a look at it, Melissa.
Okay, she had a lot more height and distance than the other vaulters on this Florida team. And again, just the one step on the ending. And she went on to the more solid mats. And I think that helped a little on the ending.
Now the score for Beth Reboyne was a 9.55 on the vault. And back on the bars, Nika Logan scored a 9.775 for Georgia. Chrissy Vogel with her second vault now.
Okay, that was not a good vault, but she will stick with that first vault.
So Chrissy Vogel again performing very well on the vault for Florida, and we'll move back to the bars. Andrea Dewey, a junior out of Apopka, Florida, a homecoming for Andrea. Again, a All-America both in 92 and 93, and Andrea finished 5th at the NCAA Championships on the bars last season.
Okay, starting off with some forward giants. Half pirouette. Nice full pirouette. And a release move, a reverse hex. You can see Georgia's routines are full of release moves and requirements. Nice giant. Getting ready for a dismount. Nice high, tuck double back, and a beautiful landing. She should score really high with that routine.
And there are some Georgia fans here in the crowd. They've traveled to follow their team, and Andrea Dewey getting congratulations from her teammates. As we move to the final vaulter for Florida this evening, Kristen Guys, who has been Florida's top all-arounder this season. She also scored a 9.80 in the vault at Kentucky.
And that's only 1/10 deduction since it's only worth a 9.9. Beautiful. Oh, that was beautiful vault. She'll score really well on that. And that really rounds out that vault for Florida. Okay, let's look at the ending on this one. Nice pre-flight. Nice height and distance on this. And again, just a small step at the end, which is only about a 10th deduction.
So Kristen Guys, who has been Florida's top all-arounder in the first 2 meets of the season, won her first all-around title at Kentucky. And now hoping, of course, to move on and win many more in her career. She's been very consistent. And her best event this year has been the vault and then, of course, the bars. Those two events have always gotten her off to good starts, and it looks like she's off to a good start this evening as well.
And she seems to handle the pressure of going at the end of the lineup really well, because it's kind of hard to do that. Her main goal right now should be just to stick the landing on this vault. And another fall in the ending.
But a good job by Kristen Guys. She will keep that first vault like several others on the Florida team. The other scores, Lisa Panzeroni had a 9.575. And for Georgia on the bars, Leslie Angeles had a 9.70. Now the final performer on the bars tonight for Georgia will be Agina Simpkins. She's a junior out of Bolingbrook, Illinois. She is the defending NCAA bars champion. She scored a perfect 10 in the finals. And this is one reason why Georgia is such a powerful bars team. You hear one after another All-America gymnasts on the bars.
Starting off with a cast handstand, nice giant. Half pirouette, forward giant, and a reverse hex. She's swinging really smoothly, and that really makes a big impact on the judges. Getting ready for a dismount. Oh, nice full pirouette. A little bit of a deduction there, though. And a double layout dismount and a touch of the hands. That'll be about a 3/10 deduction on the ending. What people don't realize is how difficult that full pirouette was that she did. She released completely as she twisted.
So a tough night for Agina Simpkins on the bars, but she'll get back in the lineup later. We'll be right back with the second rotation when we return on Sports Channel. Back at the O'Connell Center on the University of Florida campus, Florida and Georgia gymnastics, and a fine opening rotation for the two squads. I'm sure both teams very happy with their scores. Florida scoring a 48.0 on the vault. That is a season high, and would rank among the top 5 vaulting scorers in the country this year. Of course, Kristen Geis coming out with a fine 9.725. Chrissy Vogel, that 9.70. But an entire set of vaults that scored from 9.45 up, and I'm sure Judy Markel Avenir very happy with that team score. Georgia on the bars, 48.625, also a very solid score, and you can see scoring 9.775, and I had mentioned to Melissa over the break that it seemed like all these routines looked very similar, and of course, indeed, Dewey, Logan, and Macy all tied for the top spot on Georgia. So we can see a very outstanding set of bars routines. We'll go straight to the vault now, and opening for Georgia will be Lisa Kirk. Lisa is a freshman out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. She did vault in the opening meet against Penn State, but scored only a 9.15.
Now with Georgia, you'll see a bigger variety of vaults being done with more difficulty. She will be starting with a handspring front with a 9.9. Nice distance, and she stuck the landing, and that makes the difference when it comes down to it.
And of course, Suzanne Yacklin very happy because Lisa Kirk was her opening vaulter against Penn State and did not get a very good score. In fact, they had to throw her score out. It was the lowest, but she will score much higher than a 9.15 with that vault.
It looked like here she didn't have as much height as I've seen some of the Chrissy Vogel do, but she got the distance and she stuck it, and that's what really makes the difference.
So as Lisa Kirk prepares for her second vault, she did score on that first vault a 9.7. So Suzanne Yacklin must be very excited because she's got 5 great vaulters coming up after Lisa.
And that gives the rest of the team a lot of confidence knowing that they're already starting with a good score. Going for a second vault, another handspring front, another stick. Beautiful vault.
So Lisa Kirk, very impressive, the freshman out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, scoring very well as Georgia's opening vaulter. And for Florida, opening on bars this evening is Chrissy Vogel. Chrissy has a high this season of 9.525.
And again, you see the straddle mount. Everybody's wanting to just get on the bars and begin the routine. Her form is just a little bit loose. Her knees bent. Nice reverse heck. A little bit of bend of the knees there. Nice giant. And a tuck double back, nice landing.
Chrissy Vogel, who has been very consistent for this squad in the first couple meets this season, and again, Coach Avenir very happy, being congratulated by her teammates. As we move back to the vault now, Georgia will bring up Andrea Dewey, who also a former All-America vaulter in 1992. Andrea finished 7th at the NCAA Championships in this event, and she scored a 9.7 in the season opener against Penn State.
And she will be performing a suit tuck with a full twist. This is worth a 9.9, and she's working on it with a layout, which is worth a 10. Beautiful vault, a little bit of a hop at the end.
Suzanne Yacklin, of course, can anticipate a strong set of vaults, and Andrea Dewey delivers another one.
Looking at this vault again, she does the half twist on, tuck knees in a full twist, a little bit low. I think they're going to deduct on that.
Now, Georgia's been set up very nicely by their first vaulter, Lisa Kirk, whose score was a 9.80, which is already the highest vault score of the evening. And, of course, Georgia still has 5 other vaulters, including Andrea Dewey, to send up there and try to beat that score.
And as I said earlier, just sticking it makes all the difference in the world on the vault.
Andrea Dewey scored a 9.65 with that first vault.
She's going to try to get a little more height on the ending this time. It's a little bit better. Still a step on the end. That'll be a couple tenths deduction.
And now we move back to the bars where Lisa Panzeroni will be up for Florida. Lisa has a career best of 9.80 in this event. Chrissy Vogel's score was a 9.55, a good opening score for Florida.
Lisa doing a straddle on mount. Giant. Reverse hecht. Beautiful height. A nice release move. Of course, one of the requirements is connecting some of the release moves, so she's trying to fulfill those requirements. Getting ready for a dismount. Couple of giants into a tuck double back and a hop on the end.
A strong routine. The crowd likes it. They passed out some of the 10 signs tonight, hoping to see a few of those. Of course, they'd like to see them out of the Florida gymnast. But Lisa Panzeroni with a solid bars routine. As we move back to the vault now, and up is Lori Strong. The score for Andrea Dewey was a 9.675. Lori is a junior out of Whitney. Make that Whitby, Ontario, Canada, a former Canadian Olympian.
Lori will be doing another handspring front in the tuck position. And a fall at the end. That'll be a 5/10 deduction.
This is the first time Lori has vaulted this year. She's had some ankle problems and is just now breaking into the vault lineup. But again, as a former Canadian Olympian, both in 1988 and 92, a lot of international experience. In fact, as much or more international experience than any Canadian gymnast ever. And still just a junior here. She was an All-American on the bars in 1993. That first vault, because of the fall, a 9.1.
Another handspring front, better landing, still a step. That'll be a deduction. Much better vault.
And now we'll move back to the bars, where a former national team member and a former teammate of Lori Strong's, Colleen Johnson, a junior from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Her and Lori Strong, I'm sure, go back a long ways as teammates.
And Colleen is a beautiful bar worker. Nice giant. Giant with a half pirouette, forward. Nice release move. And the crowd really likes that move. It's not something you see too often. Getting ready. Another reverse hex. And that'll be a deduction there. She's going to try to keep moving and finish off the routine. And a tuck double back. A step on the ending, not a great routine for Colleen.
She was rolling for a while, but after the second release move, a major break for her, which will cost at least 5/10 on that. But a nice job by Colleen Johnson. She injured her hand against Kentucky, so this was important for her to get right back into the lineup. Agina Simpkins next up on the vault. Agina already has a 10 on the vault this season.
And
or make that last season, I'm sorry.
She will be performing a handspring front in the piked position worth a 10. Beautiful vault. A big hop at the end, but it is explosive.
So explosive that she went flying on her landing. Agina has had some ankle problems. She sprained her ankle dismounting from the bar earlier in the year and did not compete against Penn State, but this is one of the great vaulters in the country.
And this just stands out from all the other handspring fronts that have been done so high. Beautiful form. Her legs were perfectly together, but just a little too explosive. She's got to learn to control that energy at the end.
Still scored her a 9.8, even with that major step at the end. So they obviously liked everything else.
Well, her only deduction was the hop because her form was beautiful. Getting ready for her second vault. Hoping to better that one. Another handspring pike and a fall. She'll have to take the first vault.
The score for Lori Strong on the vault was a 9.55. Colleen Johnson, obviously, we're still waiting for the score here. We'll see how serious that break was. But not as serious as we thought. A 9.425 for Colleen Johnson. For her bars routine, Lisa Panzeroni scored a 9.575. And next up for Florida will be Nicole Stocker, the senior out of Pittsburgh, who has been an outstanding bars worker. Her career best, 9.85.
Another straddle over mount. Nice press to a handstand. Full pirouette. And they must do that on top. That's a nice reverse hex. Having a strong routine at this point. Giant. Giant with a full pirouette. And her dismount, a tuck double back, a step on the ending, but a beautiful routine.
A solid routine by Nicole Stocker for the University of Florida. And we'll move back to the vault. She gets some congratulations from her teammates. Hope Spivey Sheely, a 3-year All-America. She has won NCAA vaulting titles. She won one in 1991. She scored a 9.95 against Penn State in the vault. So that means she is always capable of getting another one of those 10s.
Well, she's doing a handspring front tuck with a half twist, which is worth a 10. A step on the ending, that nice distance on that vault.
The score for Agina Simpkins on the vault was a 9.75. That was her score for that first vault. So Georgia putting up a strong set of vault scores thus far. Hope, of course, from Suffolk, Virginia, and 1988 Olympic team member. She's one of the veterans of collegiate gymnastics, 22 years old and still going strong, Melissa. That says a lot about how tough she's been in this sport.
Well, it really wears on your body the more years you do gymnastics, and it just is amazing lately, the collegiate gymnastics, the level of competition that they have. They're just throwing amazing stunts that I never imagined would be done in collegiate gymnastics, and they just keep getting better. I said earlier, I'm just so thankful I'm not competing with these guys today because they are just excellent.
You would have found a way.
That's true. Your second vault, handspring front with a half and a hop. Not much different than the first vault, but still a nice vault.
It won't be a 10 for her tonight, but that will still score very well because it is out of a base score of a 10. The final second, well, make that second to the last bars worker for Florida is Kristen Geist tonight. Of course, this has been her top event. She scored a 9.875 against North Carolina State, which is one of the high scores in the country this year.
Kristen's doing a front giant with a half twist, reverse hecht, nice form. Giant with a half, nice release move over the low bar. And they must go to the low bar somewhere in their routine. That is a requirement. Nice giant. Dismount, tuck, double back. Beautiful landing.
Very nice routine by Kristen Geist. She figures to score very well because Nicole Stocker's score of 9.775 came up right before her, and that looked to be just as solid a routine. Very nice routine by Kristen Geist. And we'll move back to the vault now. The final vaulter for Georgia this evening is Leah Brown, the freshman out of Atlanta, Georgia. She scored a 10-0 in the vault in her very first collegiate meet against Penn State.
Well, she will be doing the same vault that Hope Spivey Sheely did, which was a front tuck with a half twist. Of course, Georgia always having very powerful vaulters. Nice distance and a stick. Beautiful vault.
That will be a 9.9, 9.95, or possibly even a 10 because she stuck it. And
she did. And the distance was amazing. She traveled about the length of the mat. Looking back. Nice pre-flight, knees together, perfect form, and she stuck that landing. She was determined to not move.
A great vault. The vault score for Hope Spivey Sheely was a 9.825. That was a 9.95 for Leah Brown. I think just needs to get her feet together a little bit maybe on that landing, and she'll nail that 10. That was a great vault, though.
And Georgia, they've stuck almost one vault after another, and those tenths really add up. And a hop at the end, that'll be a 10. But she's happy with that first vault.
She'll take that 9.95, a great score in vaulting. Kristen Geist did end up with a fine bar score of 9.825. So the final performer on the bars for Florida this evening, Amy Meyerson, who scored a season high and career best of 9.90 as a freshman last season.
Giant with a half. And a full pirouette down into a nice release move. She's moving nicely, getting ready for her dismount. A little bit of flex of the toes there. Nice reverse hecht. And a tuck double back and a step at the end. But
a solid routine by Amy Meyerson, who came back tonight. She's been fighting the cold lately. and performed very well on the bars. And in fact, very fine set of bars for the University of Florida. Everything scoring 9-4, 2-5 or up. And we'll take a look at where the scores are at midway through this meet. We'll be back after these messages on Sports Channel. Back at the O'Connell Center, Florida-Georgia Gymnastics, and an exciting second rotation with both teams performing very well. Florida on the bars with a score of 48.475. Kristen Guys with 9.825 to lead the way. Nicole Stocker also a very solid performance, as well as Amy Meyerson. A solid team score for Florida, just off its season high in that event. Over on the vault, Georgia, of course, one of the great vaulting teams in the NCAA, and they showed it tonight. 49.00 with Leah Brown with that great vault, scoring a 9.95. Everything counting 9.675 or above for a very fine set of vaults for Georgia. And we're about to move to the third rotation now. It will be Florida on the beam. It will be Georgia on floor. And opening on the beam for Florida, Kristen Guys.
That's a round-off layout step-out on. And that's really hard to be the first competitor up on the balance beam. Let's see if she can come back and finish off this routine.
Kristen's had a tough time staying on the beam this year. In the opening meet, she scored a 9.20 when she took a tumble. And, of course, very important because you fall off this apparatus and you're looking at a 5/10 deduction immediately.
And she just completed a nice two-back handsprings layout step-out and stuck it. So it seems like hopefully she's already gotten her composure back. Switch leap, switch leap. And of course, that's a requirement to connect two dance moves. And that's what's called an Anderson. Another requirement is to go down onto the beam. She's completing that now. And you hear the bell in the background. It means she has to get off the beam as soon as possible. Round off double 2.5 twist, dismount, and a step at the end. She did come back nicely in that routine.
Kristen Guys finishing off her beam routine for Florida, and we will move to the floor where Andrea Dewey will lead things off for Georgia. She did not compete on the floor against Penn State, so this will be her first floor routine of the season.
And Georgia always has real exciting and powerful floor routines that the audience really can get into. Ready for her first tumbling pass. So round off back handspring, tuck double back. Nice landing on that. As you can see the outer line, they need to stay within the blue area to not receive a deduction. Now they're fulfilling their dance requirements. Tumbling pass, front flip, round a back handspring, double twist, a little low. This year, the way to score high on floor is to not only have difficult tumbling, but to also have the same difficulty in dance, and that's hard to do. Back extension. Now, about this time, she's resting for that last tumbling pass. Round up a handspring, full twist. Not a very difficult routine, but she completed it.
Andrea Dewey leading things off on the floor for the University of Georgia this evening. We're going to move back to the beam now. Chrissy Vogel up for Florida.
Round off, back handspring step out, layout step out. A little bit of a bobble. Nice series. and a full turn. Some of these moves, they don't look real hard, but when you actually do them, they are very difficult. Punch front, nice stick. Full turn, which is also a requirement, into a one-arm gainer. Very unique. You don't see that too often. Switch kick into a straddle jump, fulfilling her dance requirement. Her dismount, round off, full twist. A little bit of a hop, but a nice routine.
Chrissy Vogel hanging on up there as Florida's second performer on the beam. Kristen Geis scored a 9.20 to lead things off for Florida. And we'll now move back to the floor where Leah Brown will go for the University of Georgia. Leah had a tough time against Penn State, only scored an 8.75, so she's looking to improve dramatically on that first meet of the season.
But Georgia has some difficult tumbling, and they're trying to get it out now, and they may have some trouble hitting it. They're trying to take the risk early in the season. Round of a handspring, pull in, beautiful. She's really getting into this routine. Of course, the audience really responds to that type of routine. Some dance requirements. Front flip, round up a handspring, double back. A little bit of trouble on the ending, but a nice and high double back. The audience really liking this routine. Finishing off her routine with a round of a handspring, double twist, nice landing. Very good job.
Nice routine by Leah Brown. And there we saw the combination you talked about, the dance and the tough tumbling. We move back to the beam, and it's Carrie Robidoux for the University of Florida.
She had a little bit of trouble with that mount, just a slight deduction. Full turn. Back handspring step out, layout step out, beautiful stick. Switch kick leap into a straddle jump or dance requirement. And Carrie has really matured since I knew her as a freshman. She's really done a wonderful job for this team and come a really long way. Back handspring step out. Pike jump into another pike jump. Jump. She's moving very nicely through this routine. You hear the bell. Back handspring with a full twist dismount and a nice stick.
Carrie Robidoux with a fine, a very solid routine for the University of Florida. The earlier score, Chrissy Vogel scored a 9.60 for her beam routine. Andrea Dewey had a 9.60 on her floor routine. And we'll now move back to the floor, and it'll be Nika Logan for the University of Georgia. Nika scored a 10 on her floor routine in 1993.
You probably won't see quite as many 10s this year with all the stringent requirements on all the different events. A Handspring double layout. You don't see that too often in gymnastics in college. You see that ankle heavily taped as well, and that double layout will do it to you. Nice jump series. Second telling pass, front flip, round up a handspring, round up double back. Last tumbling pass. Round up a handspring, double twist. A little bit of loose form on that.
Nika Logan with a very exciting routine. Suzanne Jacqueline very happy with it. And you can look for her to be one of the top competitors at the NCAA Championships when it comes to floor exercise. Next up on the beam, Lisa Panzaroni. The score for Carrie Robidoux on the beam was a 9.70.
Gainer layout. Lisa's a beautiful gymnast to watch on the balance beam. Her long legs and nice dance. She always looks so just mature and calm on the balance beam, which is kind of hard to do on 4 inches. Two back handspring. Nice jump. One of those moves that doesn't look as hard as it actually is. Switch kick leap, switch kick leap. And a side jump, a little bit of a bobble. Regaining her composure. Now for a dismount, round off, full twist, nice landing.
So Lisa Panzaroni pulling it back together. It looked like she might lose it there once, and very solid beam routine for Lisa. The scores over on the floor, Nika Logan had a 9.775, which was the same score as her teammate Leah Brown had. And next up is Leslie Angeles. Remember again, Leslie, just a freshman in her opening meet against Penn State, scored a 39.05 in all-around.
Nice full twisting double back, a little bit of trouble and stepped out of bounds. You see the red flag there, letting the other judges know that she stepped out. That'll be a 10. Of course, all this unique dance, they always have a wide variety of dance and music on this Georgia team. Second tumbling pass. Round up back handspring, whip back the handspring. Nice pass. Finishing off a routine with a round up back handspring, double twist.
And again, another one of those high-energy routines from the University of Georgia. That's Leslie Angeles, a very exciting freshman performer. And we'll move back to the beam now, where Amy Meyerson will be up for the University of Florida. The score for Lisa Panzaroni on the beam was a 9.55.
Nice, unique beginning. Full turn. Back handspring, layout, step out, back handspring. That was a really unique pass. I didn't know if there was enough beam there for all that. Back handspring with a half turn. She's got a lot of unique things in this routine. Try to catch the judge's attention. Hike jump. Back flip. A round off with a full twist. Nice routine.
Amy Meyerson, who has a career best of 9.90 on the beam. She won't get that score tonight, but that was easily the finest routine for Flora so far this evening, and she should score very well with it. Over on the floor, Leslie Angeles scored a 9.525. Remember, she had to step out of bounds, had trouble completing one of her tumbling passes. And the final performer for Georgia, they'll only use 5 floor exercise performers this evening. Hope Spivey Sheely, a former NCAA Floor X champion.
She always has really unique dance as well, and just a powerhouse on her tumbling.
And Georgia has decided to add a 6th performer. Lori Strong will go in after Hope Spivey Sheely.
This looks like the same routine that she had done last year. Round up a handspring, full twist and double back. Beautiful landing. You can see why she was the all-around, or the floor exercise champion at the NC2A. A front flip, round up a double back. Real unique. I think everybody really likes that. Round up back handspring, double back. Nice routine.
Hope Spivey Sheely.
Very exciting.
Great showmanship in addition to great gymnastics. Hope Spivey Sheely, one of the great gymnasts in NCAA history, and hasn't lost a beat as a senior here.
She's incredible to watch on floor.
And now we'll move back to the beam for Colleen Johnson. The score for Amy Meyerson was a 9.75 as Colleen finishes her planche mount on the beam.
Colleen is the last gymnast to compete for Florida, and sometimes that can be a difficult situation. A lot of pressure is put on that last performer to stay on the beam. Getting ready for a gymnastics series. Back handspring, layout, step out, back handspring. Very nice. A little bit of a wobble there. Front handspring. Pitch kick. Nice scale. Switch kick leap, switch kick leap. Gainer layout, step out. A little bit of a bobble. and Gainer full twist off the side.
So Colleen Johnson completes Florida's beam routines. The score for Amy Meyerson was a 9.75 this evening. So a strong set of beam routines for Florida. The score for Hope Spivey-Sheely with that outstanding floor routine, a 9.90. And the final performer for Georgia this evening on floor, Lori Strong.
Different piece of music for these Georgia gymnasts. Of course, it's changing pace. Round up a handspring, pike double back. Double turn. Second tumbling pass, front flip into another front flip and fall there. That's going to be a big deduction. I like the change of the music Lori's using. Resting for her last tumbling pass. Round up a handspring and a full twist. I think that was supposed to be something else.
So Lori Strong having a tough time after the second tumbling pass and made her way to the end. Obviously went in late. They weren't sure they were going to use her in floor exercise tonight. She's had some ankle problems, but managed to gut it out and get through that floor routine. As the two teams get ready to exchange and go into the final rotation, we'll be back with scores from the third rotation and take a look at what's coming up in the final rotation this evening when we come back on Sports Channel. The broadcast rights to tonight's telecast have been granted to Sports Channel Florida by the University of Florida solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or other use of this program without the express written consent of Sports Channel Florida is prohibited. We had mentioned a great crowd on hand tonight, and indeed the attendance 6,516. That is the sixth biggest crowd in Florida gymnastics history and the biggest crowd here in 4 years. So obviously a group of fans who are interested not only in seeing a rising Florida gymnastics program, but also, of course, the national champion Georgia Bulldogs. After three rotations, Georgia with a lead of about a point and a half, 146.20. Florida at 144.725. Good scores for both teams at this point in the meet. On the beam, Florida with a 48.275, a good team score. Amy Meyerson, 9.75 with the high score tonight. And on the floor for Georgia, a Hope Spivey-Sheely lead with a 9.90 as Georgia scored 48.575, a good solid score. Both teams looking to break into the 191, 192 or higher range. And opening on the beam for Georgia is Kelly Macy. Kelly was the 1991 SEC beam champion.
And you can see why. She's already starting with two really unique moves. Gainer back handspring, layout, step out. A little bit of a bobble. Usually teams like to start with one of their most consistent performers. So that says a lot about Kelly. Gainer layout, step out from a cartwheel. Switch kick leap into another jump, completing our dance series. Another switch kick leap into a gainer back handspring. And that's completing our mixed series. They have so many requirements to fill this year. And a dismount, round off full twist. A little bit of a hop, but a nice routine. A good start for Georgia.
Very fine start for Georgia. Kelly Macy, of course, a senior, one of the veteran leaders on this team, and getting things going for Georgia. Now over on floor, Amy Meyerson was scheduled to lead things off for Florida. We mentioned she had been a little under the weather, so Christy Blewett, a freshman out of Athens, Georgia, interesting that going against the University of Georgia, will be on floor exercise.
First pass, front flip, round up back handspring, double back, and a nice finish. Nice leaps and jumps. Round up back handspring, whip back handspring, into a full twist. Not a real difficult pass, but she did it very nicely. Showing off the dance, which is just as big of a part as the tumbling.
It's interesting because the Georgia coaches are watching with interest, because I'm sure she trained with some of these Georgia gymnasts coming from Athens, Georgia.
Beforehand, she was talking to them, so yes, it's apparent that she probably trained and competed with a lot of the girls on that team. Her last pass. A round off a handspring and a full twist to a punch front. Not an extremely difficult routine, but a good start, good consistent start for Florida. She did a nice job of filling in for Amy as well.
Christy Blewett coming home here for her first floor routine in front of the home crowd. She did perform at Kentucky, but this is really her coming out party here at the University of Florida and the O'Connell Center. I'm sure we'll see lots of her over the next 4 years. Next up on the beam, Leah Brown, the freshman from Atlanta, Georgia. She did not compete on beam against Penn State, so this is her first beam routine of the season.
Nice punch front flip. Very difficult mount. Switch kick leap to a gainer back handspring. Some gymnasts like to just get on the beam and start the routine, and some of them take the chance of doing the harder mounts.
It's interesting, Leah Brown is the only all-arounder for Georgia this evening. They have really used their entire lineup and gone through with 2 and 3 events each.
Back handspring step out, layout step out, and a fall. That'll be a 5/10 deduction. That's going to put some pressure on the other Georgia gymnasts since Florida is so close to this Georgia team. So the remainder of them will probably have to hit their routines. Nice jump with a half twist to do a straddle jump. It's so hard just to come back after that fall and still try to put that out of your mind and think about the next tricks that you have to do in your routine. Nice jump series. Getting ready for a dismount. A round off, tuck double back, and a nice landing. She did a good job of getting her composure and finishing off her routine.
Leah Brown for Georgia on the beam, and we will move back to the floor where freshman Chrissy Vogel will be up for the University of Florida. The score for Christy Blewett, a very fine job, 9.625. Kelly Macy with a 9.775 as the first beam performer for Georgia.
Nice pike double back, nice start. She's a beautiful dancer to watch on the floor exercise. Her Second tumbling pass. Round off, whip back, handspring, tuck double back. Beautiful job. You can tell she's real excited as well with that smile. Again, the gymnasts like to use the upbeat music to get the audience involved, and you can hear them clapping in the background. It helps motivate the gymnasts and help you to get through that routine when you're really tired. And your last tumbling pass, round out back handspring and a full twist. A little bit of low landing there. Nice job by Chrissy.
Chrissy Vogel finishing off another solid all-around performance, and she's been very consistent in these first 3 meets for the University of Florida, and I'm sure they're looking forward to having her for the entire season. Next up, Leslie Angeles, the freshman out of Madison Heights, Michigan.
And Leslie's beam routine is just amazing. She is one of the few on this Georgia team that it actually starts from a 10-0. And that's quite difficult to do this year with all the requirements. Getting ready for a big series by handspring, layout. Beautiful job. A full turn into a jump split. Back handspring from a squat into a jump. She moves very fluently on the beam with a lot of confidence. A tour jeté, which is extremely difficult on the balance beam. For dismount, round off, back handspring, and that was a full twist. I think it was supposed to be a double, and it looked like the foot slipped off the side of the beam.
It was a wonderful routine, but of course she wasn't able to quite finish it off, so that will count as much as a fall off the beam. That is a 5/10 deduction. Next on floor will be Colleen Johnson for the University of Florida. The score on floor for Chrissy Vogel was a 9.675. Leah Brown scored a 9.25 on the beam for Georgia.
The pike double back. Nice change of music as well. A lot of unique choreography for this Florida gymnastics team. Second tumbling pass, a front full. Taking a breath for that last tumbling pass. Front flip, round off the back tuck. A little bit of problem there.
Colleen Johnson fighting it all the way. You can tell a little fatigued after that routine, but again, it's still early in the season.
With all the tumbling that she started off with and all the dance, it really wears you out. You don't realize how tired you get in a minute and a half.
And on the beam, Hope Spivey Sheely for the University of Georgia. The score for Leslie Angeles was a 9.35 on the beam.
Nice handstand mount. Immediately into a back handspring layout step out. She's such a strong competitor. Nice jump. Back handspring, a little bit of a bobble. To a switch leap. into another back handspring. Switch leap into a straddle jump. It's called an Anderson. Preparing now for her dismount. She's going to do a round off, tuck double back. A little bit of a step, but a nice ending.
And a good solid routine for Hope Spivey Shealy after the two gymnasts before had some problems. She came back and steadied things for Georgia. And we will now move back to the floor where we have Carrie Robidoux for the University of Florida. The score for Colleen Johnson, a 9.575.
And Carrie always has just a real energetic floor routine. She really likes to show it off and get the audience involved. Round up a handspring, pike double back. A little low on the landing there. Their second tumbling pass. Round up whip back, back handspring into a double twist. Nice tumbling pass. Sometimes the gymnasts will put their first and second tumbling pass back to back so they're not quite as tired. And now, of course, it's time for the dance. A jump series. Round up straddle jump. Nice double twist. Nice finish.
Carrie Robidoux, again, one of the energetic floor exercise workers for the University of Florida. Came up a little short on the first tumbling pass after her double back, but pulled out the routine quite nicely, and we'll move now to the beam where Lori Strong will be up for the University of Georgia. The score for Hope Spivey Shealy on the beam was a strong 9.80. That is the high beam score of the evening.
Nice solid start. It's a hitch kick to a front handspring. Back handspring step out. Back handspring step out, air layout. I think she was supposed to connect that. Switch kick leap, a little low on the back leg. Sometimes it's interesting to see how gymnasts regain their composure even from one event to the other, and she had a lot of trouble on the floor exercise. Nice full turn. Dismount, round off, nice double twist, a little bit of hop on the ending.
So Lori Strong with a very solid routine for Georgia as she comes back after Hope Spivey Shealy to give Florida a good move up in the scoring ranks. Now they have a chance to pull off a very high team score. Florida will now move back on the floor with Lisa Panzeroni. The score for Carrie Robidoux was a 9.65 on the floor.
pass, round up a handspring. Nice double back. You can hear the oldies music. Front flip, round off back handspring, tuck double back. A little low on that jump series. Of course, this early in the year, sometimes you haven't quite built up the endurance that you have later on in the year. Choreography. Round up a handspring, full twist. And I'm sure by the end of the year she hopes to upgrade that difficulty.
Lisa Panzeroni with another fun routine, bringing out the oldies from the 50s, early 60s, and performed very well again. You can see a little fatigue early in the year on some of the tumbling passes, and again, as they get in better condition as the season moves along, it will improve. Nika Logan for Georgia, and having some problems on her mount.
And as I said earlier, watching the gymnast before you puts a lot of pressure, especially when you see them falling and you know that you have to hit. And starting off that routine like that will be difficult for her to come back. Round off, back handspring, lay out, step out, and another fall.
So now with Nika Logan having a couple falls off the beam, they will be counting Leah Brown's 9.25. They will be using a couple low scores on the beam this evening.
Showing her flexibility. Split jump to a back handspring, to another jump. Full turn. Get ready for a dismount, a round off, and a layout. Not much difficulty on that dismount.
So Nika Logan having some problems early, and it cost her and will cost Georgia. Georgia's team score, of course, will drop a little bit there. And the final team performer for Florida this evening, Kristen Guys on floor exercise. It's going to be very tough for Florida to catch Georgia on the team score, but they could close that gap considerably and possibly even finish within a point of Georgia, which would be a significant finish for this University of Florida team.
The first tumbling pass, around up a handspring, pike double back. Of course, this team having a big variety of music from Van Halen to the oldies to the upbeat dance music from today. Round up a handspring, 2.5 twist. Now and thinking about that last tumbling pass. Round off, 1.5 twist into a full twist. Nice finish.
Kristen Guys finishing off a fine set of floor routines for the University of Florida. Lisa Panzeroni scored a 9.80 on her floor routine. So Florida will be counting scores from 9.625 all the way up to 9.80 or higher, depending on Kristen Guys' score. And Florida very happy as a team. Coach Abner realizing that her team performed very well this evening and easily the team's best performance of the year. Georgia had a few problems, and that score for Nika Logan, as we mentioned, with the 2 falls off the beam, an 8.65, so that Georgia will count scores of 9.25 and 9.35 on the beam this evening. We're going to be back with the final scores and a look at the overall winners when we return on Sports Channel. An outstanding gymnastics meet in Florida, really closing up the gap at the end. Georgia with a fine score of 194.025. That score ranks as the tops in the nation this year. Alabama had scored a 194, but Florida coming out with a 193.325. That score ranks as the 3rd best in the nation this year. And Melissa, an outstanding performance by the Florida gymnasts. They stayed very consistent throughout.
Well, you got to consider, too, that they just competed against Kentucky on the road, and going from the road to home back to back, their bodies they're going to be tired and worn down, and that's pretty good to be tired.
Yeah, for Florida, of course, a meet that they're very happy with the score. This is a little early to score this high. Georgia, of course, had some falls in the beam, and that tightened things up, but you can see the difficulty factor for both teams has it at a point where they could score very well as the season moves along. Now, also, we will be going to the floor exercise scores. Let's see if we can get them up here. The final scores, Kristen Guys with a fine 9.85. You can see Florida with a 48.6, counting everything from 9.625 up. And Christy Blewett stepping into the lineup in place of Amy Meyerson and doing a very fine job. Georgia had some problems on the beam. They scored a 47.825. They had to throw out one low score, but they had to use a couple, and that brought the team score down, although Hope Spivey-Sheely with a fine 9.80. So overall, again, Florida looking very strong, staying consistent throughout, getting some health in the lineup that maybe they weren't planning on getting this early in the year. Georgia looks like a lot of difficulty in their lineup, and as they start hitting these tricks, they should do much better. We're going to be back with the final award ceremony this evening, where we find out who all the winners were in each event and the all-around winner when we return on Sports Channel. Back at the O'Connell Center, and we're just getting underway with the award ceremony, where we find out who the top performers were in each of the events this evening. In the vault, 3rd place was Lisa Kirk from the University of Georgia with a 9.80, and 2nd was her teammate Hope Spivey-Sheely with a score of 9.825, and Georgia completed the sweep in the vault. Freshman Leah Brown with that outstanding vault, 9.95, very close to a 10 there.
And again, we talked about how they were sticking the landings, and I'm sure that's what Florida's going to really work on when they get back in the gym this week.
Florida actually had a good set of vaults, but they did drop 10s on their landings, and that probably cost them, maybe even cost them a chance to actually pull out this meet, which if anybody had said that before the meet started, they wouldn't have thought Florida had much of a chance. Keep in mind, Florida lost to this Georgia team in Athens last year by 5 points. So to close the gap to within a point this early in the new season, Florida feeling very good about itself. On the bars, a lot of athletes scoring 9.775 this evening. There was a 4-way tie for 2nd place. From Georgia, Kelly Macy on the right and Nika Logan on the left there, joined by teammate Andrea Dewey. And also from Florida, Nicole Stocker, all scoring 9.775 on the bars this evening. Pretty crowded up there on the award stand. I'm not quite sure. There they go. Squeeze into that 2nd spot. And then the overall winner on the bars this evening, Kristen Guys with a fine score of 9.825. Kristen Guys now 3 for 3 this season on the bars. This is her 3rd win, and she has become a very, very consistent and very solid bars performer. All 3 scores this year in the 9.8, 9.7, 9.875 range, so a very consistent performer. Again, keep in mind, Georgia has a couple of performers who have been past NCAA bars champions here. Kelly Macy, of course, a former NCAA bars champion. So this is a very good performance for the University of Florida on the bars this evening to get up on top of the award stand with a couple of performers. Kristen Guys there, waving to the crowd again. Another very consistent performance from Kristen Guys. Remember, she won her first all-around title at Kentucky, and she beat the NCAA champion, Jenny Hansen, to do that. Now on the beam tonight, Amy Meyerson, who came back from a cold, fought very hard on the beam, and it paid off with a 9.75, which was good for third place on the beam this evening. Amy, again, just a sophomore. This team loaded with freshmen and sophomores who are big contributors already. And for Georgia, the veteran gymnast, senior Kelly Macy, moving up to second on the beam this evening with a 9.775. And keep in mind, Kelly Macy was the first performer for Georgia on the beam. So to score the second highest score of the evening, that's quite an accomplishment. And then the winner, again, one of the great NCAA champions of all time, Hope Spivey Sheely, with a score of 9.80. She's looking surprised, but I think she knows she belongs up there. And again, another senior. Her and Kelly, the two senior leaders on this team. So Georgia taking the top two spots on the beam this evening. Florida's Amy Meyerson finishing third. Again, though, Georgia, I think Suzanne Yocklin, head coach for Georgia, not very pleased with that set of beam routines, with 3 of the 6 gymnasts falling from the beam this evening. And that's not usual Georgia gymnastics. Again, some Georgia fans who traveled down from Athens for the meet. And there is head coach Suzanne Yocklin. 9.80. Now over on the floor, Lisa Panzeroni taking third place on the floor this evening with a 9.80. Again, the choreography outstanding. It's one of those routines that gets everybody into it. She's using that oldies music this year, and a very good score for Lisa Panzeroni. Very close to Lisa's career best in this event. Let's see if we can locate that for you. Lisa's career best is a 9.85, so only 0.5 of a point off her career best. Kristen Guys with a 9.85 on the floor exercise this evening, good for second place, and that was her career best. Her previous high was a 9.80 last year, so again, Kristen Guys improving on her performances from week to week and should be one of the top performers in the all-around chase for the SEC title. And back again on the award stand, Hope Spivey Sheely with that very inventive and outstanding choreographed floor routine. Hope Spivey Sheely with a 9.90, and that's the kind of routine, of course, that could score very well at nationals. None of us will forget the fact that she put her music in reverse and then moved in reverse during part of that routine. There are your award winners on floor exercise, and Coach Judy Markel-Avenir for Florida, I know, feeling very good about this performance for her team. Suzanne Yocklin, those two coaches, of course, the last 2 NCAA Coaches of the Year. Suzanne Yocklin last year, Judy Markel-Avenir, the NCAA Coach of the Year in 1992. And the all-around now. In third place, Chrissy Vogel. We talked about the freshman who has been very steady and has performed very well. Well, she comes in third place in all-around this evening. And that's a great accomplishment when you're going up against the team that really dominated collegiate gymnastics last year. Georgia did only compete one all-arounder this evening, and that was Leah Brown. She finished second with a 38.575. So you have 2 freshmen up on the award stand in the all-around. And no great surprise, of course, after her great performance both on the floor and the bars. Now winning back-to-back all-around titles, Kristen Guys with a 38.60, and that is her best, her season best, and the best for Florida as a team this year, 38.60, Kristen Guys. And Melissa, you know how important this is to her in terms of building her confidence. I think you still hold the all-time record for all-around titles here at Florida, so she's got a long ways to go, but she's got the first 2 under her belt.
And she's, what, a sophomore?
Sophomore.
So she's off to a good start.
So Kristen Guys, the all-around winner, feeling pretty good about herself and the way her team performed this evening. And that is it for the individual winners. We're going to be back to wrap things up when we return on Sports Channel after these messages. Once again, Georgia edging out Florida tonight in an outstanding collegiate gymnastics meet. Florida 193.325, Georgia 194.025. And again, we're talking about a score for Florida that really bumps them up from where they were in the first 2 meets of the year. Florida scoring in the 188, 189 range. Now you're talking jumping all the way to 193. This is the 6th highest score in Florida history, and it took till the 8th meet last season to get this high. So obviously the progress, very, very good progress for this early in the year.
Well, I'm just tickled to death. I'm excited about the season because just think, if they're planning on peaking later in the year, just imagine what's in store for them.
And of course, what makes this performance even more impressive from Florida's standpoint, keep in mind, Georgia had a week to rest for this performance. Florida performed last night at Kentucky, had to come home from Kentucky, got home very late in the morning, 2:30, yet came out and was able to put on this kind of performance. Obviously very ready for a Georgia team that came in here as the defending national champion. Also, Florida, as they worked their way up during the season, Melissa, I guess vaulting is the place they were worried about when things got started. They have improved dramatically, but they still have a ways to go in terms of building up some more points there.
Well, the main thing they can work on, and I'm sure they'll really focus on that, is just sticking the landings. And maybe eventually they're trying to stay healthy right now, and they're sticking out that big mat, and they're losing the tenths because it's very hard to land on that. But they're probably thinking about saving themselves from injuries because they don't have enough depth to really risk getting any injuries.
Right now, again, for this early in the season, an outstanding performance. Melissa, enjoyed working with you again. We'll see you back here when LSU comes to town. That's going to do it for tonight. Sports Channel's coverage of the University of Florida continues with basketball action tonight at 10:30 p.m. when the Florida Gators take to the court against the Georgia Bulldogs at the Georgia Coliseum in Athens. Check local listings for Sports Channel and Gator Vision coverage in your area. I'm David Sturt saying goodbye for Melissa Miller, and once again, the final score, Georgia 194.025, Florida 193.325. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again.